Our president has constantly reminded us to live within our means, which is a good thing. When things get tough, we also get tough with the going. When we remember COVID happened, most of us were forced to live within our means. Salaries were slashed, people were laid off. Now, we are on a crisis. The president tells us and his people that since we are going to use the 2023-2024 finance bill, we are going to have a deficit to a tune of 200 billion shillings. Now, Mr. President, as the Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Z Alpha, and all other citizens at large, we are asking, why should we exempt our leaders? Why should they continue living large at the expense of Wanjiku, who is being asked to live within their means? Here are our proposals. We give a problem, we agreed, then we give our proposal to solve these issues. Number 1, Mr. President, the new chief has done away with Linda Mama and Beyond Zero campaign. This one used to cater for mothers of this nation and their children up to the age of 5 years old. If you go to a facility now, you actually have to go with a package of 11,200 shillings for you to have normal delivery. Yet, we continue financing our leaders to have a medical cover, 75,000 dental medical cover, 75k optical cover, maternity, I can't remember the figure, outpatient 300,000, inpatient 10 million. Yet, Wanjiku cannot afford the same. Hata mmemtolea Linda Mama. Why should we continue giving you that package? Ipunguzwe. Their medical covers actually should be recommended to operate within the public hospitals in this country. Why? They also need to get a pinch of what they are giving Wanjiku. You don't give us good services, you experience those bad services. Fuel mileage. Mr. President, when I go to negotiate for my salary, huwa nimepiga hesabu. Transport, rent, food, other expenses, and maybe something small that I'm going to save. So, Mr. President, why should we be fueling waheshimiwa's vehicles? Na wanapewa mpaka grants na wanapewa gari. Why? Tell us why. Number 2, sitting allowance. Can we do away with that? Do I get paid for going to sit in my office and doing what I need to do and still receive a salary at the end of the month? Mr. President, we are products of free primary education by Mwai Kibaki. We understand things better than our parents. Sitting allowance should be scraped off. Either they choose to have the sitting allowances, wakuwe kama part-time workers and no salary, or they choose to have a salary with no sitting allowance. Their salaries should be slashed to a reasonable amount. The package they get, it's a lot. For instance, members of parliament and senators, wapunguziwe hiyo pesa to around 200,000. Hiyo pesa ni mingi sana we can save. We need to live within our means. Their salaries should not be cushioned against market inflation rate. If there is inflation in this country, ask these people. Hata uliza pia these people like policemen and other public officers. Those people's salaries out, they are not cushioned against inflation. Unaingia una stagnate for 10 years. Na ile mshahara ile. Others are surviving with 30,000. My president, what are you telling us? We voted for these people not to give them a luxurious life. Let them serve the people as a calling. Let us talk about housing. House allowance. Tu kwa hiyo salary yao. You should not be giving someone a house allowance. Yet, ni senator ni nominated na kwa maybe Migori or something. In fact, what are they coming to do? let me not get to that. We were talking about house allowance. Let the allowance be cut maybe by half, or depending on class ya ile county ametoka, the suburbs of those counties. Kwa nini wote wapewe range kama ya watu wa Nairobi? Hapana, hiyo tumekataa. Loans and grants. Once they are given these facilities, their terms and conditions should be as those of mwananchi. Kwani wao wako dunia gani yenye sisi hatuko? Unless you people are telling us you want to create wealthy leaders at the expense of poorest citizens. That cannot happen. Can we talk about CBC? The quality of our education as a country. Are you ready for this talk, Mr. President? Are you aware that JSS, wengi hawajakuwa na walimu? They've just been going to school for the sake of it. Imagine, tell me how many of your leaders, their children are studying in the current CBC curriculum. How many? What are they creating of our children? So then they can afford, with our taxes, to take children to international schools while our children are struggling with CBC. Then, 10 years from now, when the same government is hiring, the leaders are going to impose clauses from recognized institutions. Then, your children go back to power. Are we creating a poor society at the expense of a few rich individuals? If you are elected a leader in this country, you should vow, take an oath that you're going to take your children to public facilities so that you can ensure we have quality education, quality classrooms, everything check. We are fixing this nation, Mr. President. Housing allowance, Mr. President. No, sorry, housing levy. Mr. President, this one will feature in almost all my videos. Your people agreed to have 1.5% of housing levy. But Mr. President, I am asking, your government said they will not offer job opportunities to us, but they will give us manual jobs. Tuende kwa mijengo. Tukienda kwa hiyo mijengo, imagine mwenye ameajiriwa anakatwa pesa yake, ninapewa nijenge, na hiyo nyumba sio yake. Haya, mkasema tukimaliza kufanya hizo degrees zote tuende mijengo. How many of you people, your children wanaenda hiyo mijengo? Na wakienda not unless they are the site managers. Na tukisikia hatutaenda mijengo, mmetutafutia jobs majuu. So, you want to take all the learned people from Kenya, muwapeleke majuu. Mbaki na wenye hawajasoma, si ndio? So that our leaders can continue giving them unga branded. Na mafuta branded. Mr. President, hiyo kama Gen Zs, kama Gen X, kama boomers or Gen Z alphas, tumekata. Let's live within our means.